والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Okay, so continuing the story of Ashab al-Qaryah, we have now got to a specific scene. These three messengers are now there, surrounded by this Ashab al-Qaryah, by these people. It's a scene of hostility, okay? They are facing death. Many Mufassirun said that at this point, they were about to be killed, okay? They were about to be killed. Others said, no, they had already been killed at this point now, okay? So those people actually followed through with their threats. At that point, either way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجُلٌ يَسْعَى قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اتَّبِعُوا الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And then comes from the furthest part of the town a man. He doesn't just come, yas'a, he comes in haste. And when he comes, he says a statement. He says, O people, ya qawmi, O my people, ittabi'ul mursaleen, follow the prophets, follow the messengers. Now this person, who is he? Again, his name is not mentioned. Why? Like we said, Sayyid Qutb mentioned, many details of the story, which is the case with many of the stories in the Quran, are left out on purpose by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order for us to focus on what really matters. What matters is that he was just one man. And what matters is that he came from the furthest outskirts of the city. He wasn't there living amongst them, being amongst the city dwellers. He was on the outskirts. Min aqsa al-Madinah means he was right on the edge. And he didn't just come, oh, there's three messengers over there, and I heard about their message, and the people have turned against them, they need some help, let me come. No. Yas'a, he came in haste. He came in haste, meaning he too had a plan. And he too was eager to pursue the haqq, the truth. Now some of the Mufassirun, like Al-Qurtubi, mentioned some details about this man. What seems to be agreed upon by the Mufassirun is that the name of this man was Habib ibn Najjar. Habib, the son of Najjar, and they said about him that he was an old man, he was a carpenter, meaning he was just an ordinary person. He wasn't some elite person, someone who had a lot of influence over society. He was just an ordinary person. Min aqsa al-Madinah, even though he lived on the outskirts, he was still part of those people. And there's a little lesson there, we'll come back to that. Other details Qutbi mentioned. He said this man, he worshipped idols on his own, devoted himself to those idols for 70 years. 70 years this man had been a mushrik, grown old, worshipping idols. They said that those mursalun, messengers, when they came to the city or to the qaryah, the town, they first must have met him. When they met him, they said to him, we are messengers from God. You need to worship only one God and absorb yourself from all of this idol worship. He said in response, show me a sign. Show me a sign. They said that Habib al-Najjar, was old and also suffering from leprosy, or they said another ailment. So the Mursalun were given a mu'jiza from Allah, a miracle from Allah. And what was that miracle? They said, okay, make dua to Allah. Let us make dua to Allah. They made dua to Allah and he became cured. He said, Subhanallah, I have been asking this for 70 years from these idols and they never helped me one bit. And you, in just a matter of moments, have been able to help me, meaning your Lord is true. And what I was upon was false. And he became a believer. He was already a believer then. Then the messengers went further into the city. And this is where that scene, this is where that story ensued, basically. So now he hears that they are about to be killed, according to one view. And he comes rushing in. A linguistic point here. Look at the verse. Allah said, وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ. But in the beginning, Allah didn't refer to the people as Ashabul Medina. He referred to them as Ashabul Qariyah. What is the difference between the two? There is a subtle difference. Qariyah is translated as town. Medina is translated as city. Medina is bigger than a city. Sorry, Medina is bigger than a Qariyah. A city is bigger than a town. So why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when referring to the man, this believing man, say that he came from the outskirts of the city and not the town? The reason is as follows. The word Medina gives this sense of vastness. And Medina is large, like a city. And that vastness gives us an indication as to the righteousness of that man. Because he came from so far out, as if he was coming from the very outskirts of a city, not just a town. Min Aqsa al-Madina. And he didn't just come from all the way out there, he also came yas'a, in haste as well. All of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising this man. Praising this man. He was a believer, coming from so far. And as we know, he was an old man. Some said that he came with a stick. Imagine that. And the thing is, I was thinking to myself, subhanAllah, he's one man, a rajul. He's not going to come with an army or with a group of people that can back him up. No, he's got no support whatsoever. More to the point, he knows what he's getting himself into. He knows that the people have turned angry at those individuals and are wanting to kill them. And now he's going to go there and say, ittabi' al-mursaleen, follow these messengers. He knows what he's getting himself into. Which points to, again, his belief. The conviction that he had in Allah. The confidence to stand for the truth, no matter what. And the proactivity again. He didn't say, I'm an old man. What can I do? And I live I live all the way over there. That's happening all the way over there. What am I going to do? One person? No. Proactivity. He said, I need to stand up for this. Allah will ask me about this. I need to do the most that I possibly can. That is all Allah asks from any one of us, that we do as much as we can. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah as much as you can. What you can do, maybe more than the other person. Or what the other person can do, maybe more than you. But what you will be asked about is how much you reach your potential. Yas'a, he came in haste. What did he say? He said to all those people, ittabi' al-mursaleen. I mean, that would have just enraged them. Hang on, you're from us, and now you're telling us to follow these messengers. What are you saying? Are you also a believer like them? It's not clear, but he's giving them an indication by these words. Next verse.
He said, اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. not just follow the messengers. Now he goes further. He goes further to detail why they should follow these particular people. اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا. Follow those that do not ask you for ajr. Ajr we usually translate it as what? Reward. But linguistically it means wage, money. They don't ask you for money. Al-Tabari said that in the previous verse, وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَ رَجُلٌ يَسْعَى قَالَ قَوْمِ اتَّبِعُوا الْمُرْسَلِينَ, that when he got to the people and he saw those messengers, he said to them, do you ask them for any ajr for what you give them, for what you advise them, for what you are calling them to? They said no. Then he turned to them. He said, اتَّبِعُوا مَنْ لَا يَسْأَلُكُمْ أَجْرًا وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. Two interpretations. He said, follow those people by virtue of the fact that they don't ask you for money. The fact that they don't ask you for money indicates hum muhtadun, that they are guided people. They are guided people. Okay, that's the first interpretation. Now, just to delve into that, you see, ikhlas is something that human beings recognize. They recognize a sincere person or sincere group of individuals. The fact is that sincerity is a state of mind. I intend, or what motivates me to speak, to come here, to be with you, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the only reason why I'm doing any of this. Now, that is a state of mind. No one knows whether that's true or not. It may be true, it may not be true. The person is saying, I'm not here for any worldly reason whatsoever, only for Allah. Okay, so if you are truly here for Allah's sake alone, then why do you ask us for money? The fact that you ask us for money for something shows that you're not really sincere. You have an ulterior motive. There's another agenda there. There's something else at play here. So the rajul speaking to mushrikun, they're not just any human beings, they are people stooped in idol worship. You know, the worst kind of state any man could be in. But yet, there's something inside of them that can still recognize the truth of this. That these people, it's true what he's saying. They are telling us all of this and they're not asking for anything from us in return. It must mean that they are truly sincere and more to the point. Not just sincere, because, you know, you can meet many people out there that are sincere in what they say. You can meet, for example, the priests, Christian priests. Sit with them, talk to them. You find that they are very sincere. They genuinely believe that وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, Allah has a son. Does that mean they are muhtadun? Does it mean that they are guided people? Does it mean that they have that belief grounded in a good, genuine source? It doesn't mean that. So he tied the two together. He said, look at this fact that they don't ask for money. They are sincere, and moreover, on top of that, they are muhtadun as well. This is the second interpretation. Okay? That they are sincere because they don't take a wage, and more to the point, hum muhtadun, that they are also guided. Is that clear? Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said a beautiful point here. He said, look here, the fact that they don't ask for anything in return points towards their sincerity. Had they asked for anything in return, not only would they be compromised, but the message itself would be compromised as well. The person, he's muhtaj, he needs some money. You know, I need to live. I need to live, I need to feed myself, my family. And the only thing I can get money for right now is to give da'wah. Even if that is the case, and we are not saying it is haram. What we are saying is that if you did take money, then people have a reason to doubt you. Isn't that true? Yes or no? It's true, because yeah, I know he's a truthful person, he says good, but he's asking for thousands of pounds. What does that mean? There's a doubt there. I'm not saying it's haram, nor am I saying it's recommended. I'm not saying anything whatsoever. I'm looking at the sincerity aspect here. If he said, even though I am in a state of need, I need to feed myself, I need to live, but I will not make my source of income this da'wah. No, this avenue will never be an avenue to benefit me in this world. I will keep it purely for Allah's sake, and I will seek another avenue, business, commerce, whatever, in order to bring money to me. Then the message is never compromised, nor is the person ever compromised as well. وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, also shows us that he was referring not just to the messengers. How comes? He said, in the beginning he's already said, اتَّبِعُ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. Previous verse, he said, follow the messengers. But then now he's saying, اتَّبِعُ مَنْ لَا يَسْأَلُكُمْ. As if he's saying, you should follow any person who comes sincerely, not wanting anything in return, and is muhtadun, speaks of guidance. Do you see the subtlety there? He's saying, as if he's saying, follow these messengers and anyone who comes to you with a true form of guidance, and you can tell he's sincere. طيب. Now one mas'ala on sincerity, ikhlas. You know, if a person has this mindset that he is sincere, he wants to be sincere, he wants to be sincere to Allah, only doing things for Allah, no one else, then it impacts on his behavior. This is one way it impacts, that he doesn't want any money in return for what he does for Allah's sake. Doesn't want that to become compromised. There are other behavioral traits that follow on for that. It impacts on the behavior in many other ways. Another way I wanted to highlight to you is that if a person is sincere, mukhlis, he is worshipping Allah just for His pleasure alone, for His reward and to be saved from the hellfire, he will not mind if another brother or a sister sees another sister outdo her in good deeds. They will not mind if somebody else comes along and surpasses them in doing good for others. Why? Is the question clear? If a person is sincere, doing something genuinely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, he's a good qari, he knows how to recite Quran very proficiently, okay? And the people know him to be like this. All of a sudden another person comes, and he far better than him. If he was genuinely a mukhlis, he wouldn't mind that. Who can answer this? Why is that the case? As the brother said, that if a person is genuinely sincere, then what he hopes to achieve, the goal. For example, he wants to, actually let me give you a real example. You know, at the moment, a few years ago, the government changed the legislation about tuition fees in universities, and now the tuition fees can be raised up to £9,000. Most of the universities are now charging £9,000, and it's become a big issue for Muslim students. Shall we take the loan or not? Yeah? However, there are some Muslim organizations, 2 or 3, working to try and offer a solution to the government which they can endorse and then make a way out for Muslim students. Okay? Whoever manages to crack that, they have done an immense amount of khair for the ummah. True? Imagine there are 2 people trying to do the same thing. If they genuinely were sincere, they wouldn't mind who achieved it. Because what matters, as the brother said, is the achievement of the goal itself, is the pleasure of Allah. Is the pleasure of Allah being, coming, established with that or not? Let me try. I want Allah to be pleased with me. However, if somebody else manages, alhamdulillah, it's still there, Allah is still pleased. I sought the pleasure of Allah. The pleasure of Allah has been realized. Maybe not through me, but my intention was to seek out that pleasure. Therefore, I have no ill feelings towards the other organization. They managed to put forward a proposal that was accepted. My proposal got rejected. No problem whatsoever. Alhamdulillah, that was established. Is that clear? Okay. So anyway, ikhlas is not just something come easy. Ikhlas means something, and it impacts a person's life in a very real way. And one of the benefits of being a mukhlis, sincere, is that the people out there, they recognize this person. He's not just talking rubbish. He's not just out for himself. He's not just seeking some fame, glory. No, he is a genuine person. Let me listen to him. To continue. وَمَا لِيَ لَا أَعْبُدُ الَّذِي فَطَرَنِي وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. He said then, now you have to listen and follow his conversation, his argument. He's piecing together his argument very carefully. First he comes, he tells them to follow the messengers. Then he points towards the sincerity of those messengers. So he's saying, look over there. Don't look at me. Don't make your focus me. No, look over there. The third party. Look over there. Look at those people. Okay. Then he brings their attention to himself. He says, وَمَا لِيَ لَا أَعْبُدُ الَّذِي فَطَرَنِي وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. That it is, he's saying to himself as if he's speaking out aloud. This is the style Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said he used here. His style of speaking out his words as if he's speaking to himself. It is not befitting for me that I should worship other than the one fatarani. Fatarani means khalaqani, or bada'ani, that the one who originated me, the one who brought me into existence. It's not befitting that I should worship anyone except the one who brought me into existence. So he's speaking to himself. He has an audience there of all of these people. He doesn't choose to address them directly. First he brings their attention to those people over there. Then he talks about himself out aloud. It's a style. And he's saying, he put forward an interesting, very powerful argument that does it make sense that I should worship other than the one who brought me into existence? He's saying that the fact that there is somebody out there who created me, sustains me, takes care of me, should necessitate shukr, necessitate some gratitude. He does all of this for me. In return, I should at least do something for him. In fact, I should only do it for him. Anyone other than him is not deserving of it. Did you see his argument? Then he turns the attention to those people. وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. And to him, that one that I'm referring to, you are all returning. You are all returning. See, this takes us back to the very beginning of Surah Yaseen. That we said when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet ﷺ that warn them like their forefathers have warned, or because their forefathers were not warned. Indhar, warning. Look at the da'wah. Look at the da'wah. How he brought indhar in a very discreet way. Talking about himself. It's not befitting of me to show devotion to anyone apart from the one who created me. And by the way, all of you are returning to him. Aha. So we're going to be held accountable for this. There are consequences for what we are doing. Warning. Indar. طيب. The next verse. أَأَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِهِ آلِهَةً إِن يُرِدْنِ الرَّحْمَنُ بِضُرٍّ لَا تُغْنِ عَنِّي شَفَاعَتُهُمْ شَيْئًا وَلَا يُنْقِذُونَ. أَأَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِهِ آلِهَةً. Let me see with this translation. What's the translation you have there?
Am I to take as gods instead of him those whose intercession, if the all-merciful desires harm for me, will not help me at all and cannot save me?
Okay. Now he's talking to them and he's rebuking them, as At-Tabari said. He is scolding them. أَأَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِهِ يعني, should I take, he's asking them, should I take آلِهَةً? Aliha, yeah, from the word ilah, means ma'bud, a deity worthy of worship. That is what ilah means, a deity worthy of worship and devotion. أَأَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِهِ آلِهَةً? Shall I take a deity other than him, beneath him? When? Now he's putting forward the argument. Should we really worship these idols? When? In. Meaning, إِن يُرِدْنِ الرَّحْمَنِ. Should really do this, take other than Allah's worship, when, if He wants, when Ar-Rahman wants dur, wants harm to come to a person, لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا. If He wanted, can they stop it? Can these idols come in between as a shafi', as an intercessor? Is it possible? If Ar-Rahman wanted a person to be punished, person to feel pain, calamity, could they come in between and stop it? Self-evident. No one would say that. No one would say that, yeah, they can stop it if He wants to punish them or wants to make them feel harm. وَلَا يُنْقِذُونَ. And they cannot even cure or alleviate. Now look at the argument. He's first saying that these deities cannot be intercessors. An intercession happens like this. There's two people, you're two friends, you work for the same company. Okay, two different roles. Your friend is me slacking at work. You know the boss. You're close to the boss. The boss tells you that, you know what, that guy over there, he's not really pulling his weight, I'm going to have to let him go. He's your friend. You tell your friend says, look, do something for me. Talk to him. Become a shafi', become an intercessor for me. So you go up to the boss and say, look, he's my friend, it's okay, I'll talk to him, I'll sort things out, don't worry. He is now preventing dur, preventing harm coming your way. This is before harm. The man said they can't do any prevention of harm. وَلَا يُنْقِذُونَ. And they cannot even cure it. They can't do anything. They can't stop anything happening, and nor can they deal with it when it happens. وَلَا يُنْقِذُونَ. Very, very powerful. And this teaches us something. That at the heart of shirk is this desire for a human to want good for himself. He wants to live happy times. He wants to avoid all the hardship in life. He can't have the husband and wife, they've been trying for a child for so many years. Nothing is happening. They just wish they could turn to something that would help them out. Anyone in that moment who turns to other than Allah has made shirk. For they should have only turned to Allah to ask Him for something supernatural like this. Bless us with a child. Calling out to someone, bless us with a child. Only Allah deserves this. This need for wanting some alleviation of hardship or wanting happiness in the life is the essence of the shirk. This need, okay? So the man destroys this argument and this base, because he's saying that they can't harm me, they can't help me. What's the point turning towards them? Do you see what he's doing here? He's dissecting their belief slowly, getting to the very core of it. That these idols, they can't even fulfill the purpose which you are seeking from them. Inni idhal lafi dalalin mubin. Indeed, if I did that, then he's not saying you. He's saying I would be in dalalin mubin. I would be in clear misguidance. Notice here how he's, being indirect. He said a word in the beginning, turja'un, that you will be returned to Allah, but then he came back to himself. And as he's talking to himself, he's dissecting their belief. They know him, he's one of us. He knows how we think. He knows our ideology, our religion. And he's showing us from the inside that this is not really right. This is false. Then he makes it clear to them. Inni amantu bi rabbikum fasma'un. Now I make it clear to you all. I have believed. I have believed in these messengers. And it doesn't say I have believed, say inni amantu bi rabbikum. Aha. Now he comes clear cut. I believe in your Lord. It doesn't say in my Lord or the Lords of the messengers. He says I believe in your Lord, meaning he's the Lord of us all. And with this he came out in the open and made public his faith. Then the repercussion. The people turned against him. And as Al-Qurtubi mentioned in his tafsir, that they came after him and they killed him. How did they kill him? A number of opinions. The first opinion is that they threw him into a well. A well is known as Ar-Ras. Ar-Ras. When they threw him into a well, they became known later on as Ashabul Ras. Have you heard of Ashabul Ras in the Quran? Many of you may have recited Ashabul Ras. They say it refers to this Ashabul Qarya. The second view is that they trampled over them. It's horrific. They said that they trampled over Habib ibn Najjar until his intestines came out from his back. Imagine, the aggression, the hatred, the violent behavior, how they couldn't stand it. He had touched a nerve. When he broke down their belief, slowly but surely, he touched a nerve. And they turned against him. And so they killed him. Now, a lesson here. A lesson in debating and arguing. In the beginning, he was addressing them from a third person. Then he turned to the first person. And then he addressed them directly. What does that teach us? It teaches us something called taraqqi, which is progression in argument. Okay? You see, it's very difficult for someone if you come to them and to their face and say, by the way, your belief is kufr. Your belief is misguided. Man, you're going to burn in the hellfire. Anything you say after that, he's not going to listen to you. He's on the defensive. Obvious. The other approach. Look at this approach, subhanAllah. He says, look, there are people out there, they speak the truth. Why don't you follow them? Look at the way they behave, they're sincere people. And even myself, I've been thinking, it's not right that I should believe this. It's not right what we're doing, worshipping these idols. It's wrong. It doesn't make sense. It's a false belief. And by the way, I've left this belief. And I believe in a Lord who is the Lord of you all. Do you see the impact that it can have? Subhanallah, taraqqi. This is the way of the prophets and those that followed them. Teaches us something. Look at Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam is known for many things. One thing many people, have lost sight of is that Allah referred to his stories and taught us about his ability to debate other people. He had an amazing ability to argue and to debate his case. He debated the great king. Yeah? He debated his own father. He debated his people. And the story when he debated his people who worship stars, it's amazing. Taraqqi is being used. He first, again, indirectly, very indirect, he says to them, not to go into the details, okay, I believe in I think that these stars, they have some power. I believe that they are supernatural. Rabbi, hada Rabbi. But then when the stars disappear and day follows, he says, how can I believe in something that just passes away? something that disappears. If the one I worship disappears, what am I going to do for half the day? Oh no, I saw the moon. The moon, I believe in the moon. The moon looks special. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ. When the moon disappeared, how can I believe in the moon? No, this is wrong. The sun, هَذَا أَكْبَرُ. The sun brings us life. The sun, look at the amazing sun. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَتْ. When the sun disappeared, how can I believe in this? And then he says, no, if I did, I would be ضَالِينَ. I would be from amongst the misguided people. Who are those misguided people? You people. And he absolved himself. I have nothing to do with this type of belief. I can't believe in this. Very powerful. Taraqi. Coming at it, building up the case slowly. The second lesson it teaches us is the rahmah of Allah with His creatures, subhanAllah. Such an arrogant group of individuals, and yet Allah didn't send one prophet, 2 prophets, He sent 3, and after a 3rd He sent this other righteous man, and the way this righteous man explained everything to them with beautiful eloquence and proficiency, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have just destroyed them just like that. However, Allah gave them all of this. This shows us the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, how much khair He wants for His creatures. He could have easily destroyed them from the very beginning. No, Allah established the evidences upon them one by one out of His mercy. And moreover, it shows us then later on the justice of how Allah dealt with them. After all of this, you still rejected them? Okay, the last 2 verses. At that moment, what happens in the Quran is not been stated. I told you from tafsir that that is what happened to that person, that he was killed in this way. In the Quran it's not mentioned. Okay, those are from athar, narrations. Allah never mentioned what happened to him at that moment. All that is mentioned is قِيلَ دُخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. It is said, enter paradise. Subhanallah. Look at his fate. At-Tabari said, he is being told to enter paradise because of his iman and because of his sabr. His faith and perseverance upon the truth, nothing less of your reward except paradise. Who is saying قِيلَ دُخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ? It is said, enter paradise. Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala an said, Allah Azza wa Jal said to him, enter paradise. Amazing. Now what is the significance of omitting the details of how he is killed? The significance and the wisdom behind that is to teach us that it doesn't really matter what happens here. What matters is the life to come. That is the real success. Even though he might have found some torment, pain and suffering, it is eclipsed by the mighty reward of paradise, as if it didn't even exist in the first place. The second lesson, it teaches us that as soon as he was killed, or as soon as the blade, cut him, or whether he was thrown in the fire or any of the other, as soon as he was killed, or the first strike, immediately is entered into paradise. No waiting. It's all immediate. It's all immediate. Look how Allah hastened His reward for him, brought forward His reward for him. He didn't have to wait for anything. You know how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just waiting to take him from that moment of tribulation and enter him into an eternal bliss. Just an environment had been created to test his faith. Can he be true? Will he be true? Yes. Enough. Enter paradise. And this is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the reason why Allah said, خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. I'm going to test you. Why? In order so that environment of test will be your opportunity to prove your faith to me. It's very easy to say you believe when there's no test there, when there's no suffering there, when there's no difficulty. It's a whole different ball game. when you're facing persecution. If you believe at that moment, then truly you are a believer and you deserve the reward. Now look at what he says. When he sees paradise, it's amazing. He remembers his people. قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ. Only if my people, woe to my people, if only they knew. Two interpretations. The first, Al-Tabari mentioned that when he saw Jannah with his eyes, he was amazed and he said to himself, if only my people knew what I know now of this reward. If only they knew, they wouldn't have behaved the way they did. Look at the compassion towards his people. Yeah, look at the compassion towards people. We'll come back to this point. The second view is that no, he was saying, look at where I am now. I am in this state of honor, peace, reward. If they knew where I am now, they would increase in their hasra. They would increase in their anguish. We try to punish this person and he ends up over there. It will increase them in their anguish, in their stubbornness, in their misery. Two interpretations. But the first one is the one At-Tabari mentioned, that he is speaking from the aspect of compassion. Ya layta qawmi ya'lamun. If only they had known all of this reward, they wouldn't have belied. The fact that he remembered his people is amazing. And are you going to think about this dunya when you enter paradise? May Allah make us of the companions of paradise. You will not think about this dunya. But he's thought about his people because he truly wanted khair for them. He wanted good for them. And the greatest good anyone can ever achieve is nothing short of paradise. Everything else is secondary. Paradise is the paramount, is a very apex of reward. Everything else comes after. This teaches us a lesson in wala and bara. Many times we translate wala and bara as loving for the sake of Allah and hating for the sake of Allah. There's a problem in the translation here. When you say you hate someone, what does that mean? When I was at primary school, I used to get into a lot of fights. So I got into a fight with this boy who was, I think, older than me. And then the teacher pulled us up. And he said, why did you, beat up this other boy? And I said, because I hate him. He said to me, do you know what hate means? I said, no. He said, hate is when you see a person burning inside a car and you don't bother to open the door. I said, well, that's not how I feel toward. I don't hate him then. I don't hate him. But what he said, subhanAllah, is very true. Because hating someone means you want no good for them whatsoever. That is incorrect. The prophets call their people to khair. Disbelieving nations were called by prophet after prophet to goodness with compassion. Okay? So when you say bara, what it means is that you don't hate those people, meaning you don't want any good for them. It means you loathe and you dislike all of their despicable ways and their behavior and their bad conduct with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But having said all of that, you still wish and want and will strive for them to be guided. Look at this man. قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ. If only my people that I have left could have also experienced this as well. Compassion. A disbelieving, idol worshipping people. And yet this is his thoughts about them. Okay? Now, a second point. Jannah is goodness. Jannah is the best reward that anyone could ever acquire. Helping someone to pursue paradise is the best way you could possibly show them compassion. Now, with the recent death of Nelson Mandela, many people have become confused, trying to make sense of the death of such an amazing person, such a huge figure, who did so much good for people. In order to make sense of his death, some Muslims feel the need to remove the fact that he lived as a disbeliever and died as a disbeliever. They can only make sense of it by saying, perhaps he was a Muslim when he died, who knows? Some have gone even further to say, no, he was a Muslim. I saw him making dua. I saw him making dua with some imams. Now, what drives those Muslims to come to that conclusion? It's because they can't understand how is it that such a great person, he was a great person, who was so compassionate towards others, done so much good, can then be entered into the fire for an eternity. See, the problem is they've got it all confused. They see things from a purely worldly perspective. Once we say to them that the best thing a man and a woman can do is to behave well with the one who created them, then to behave well to him is of two types: through worshipping him exclusively and through being good to his other creatures. If a person encapsulates both of these things, having good behavior with the one who created him and then good behavior to his creation as another way of showing good behavior to him, then that person is a true good person. And by the way, that good person is called a Muslim, because there is no way a person could worship Allah except by the teachings of his Prophet. True? Therefore, if we said that there is a man out here who does so much good to the creation of Allah, but unfortunately he behaved very badly with his creator, it means that he missed the mark big time. And he done all of this good, and yet the one he should have been the best to, he was completely oblivious of, completely and utterly turned away from the creator. This is, the height of foolishness, if you like, that a person is completely oblivious to the obvious reality of God and his right to be worshipped, and his book Al-Quran, and his messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but at the same time he does a tremendous amount of good. So in that context of the hereafter, of paradise, of God, of his religion, this individual here, unfortunately, though we can praise all of the good things he did, learn from his life, we have to say with a heavy heart that he missed the mark. That unfortunately he died in the way that he lived, which is the life of a disbeliever. The Prophet ﷺ, his own parents were disbelievers. Doesn't giving birth to the Prophet ﷺ, necessitate that they should be given some honor in the akhirah? Maybe according to your mind, maybe according to your upbringing, maybe according to the influences that you have experienced as a child growing up here in the West. No, but according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَن يُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ يَهْدِ قَلْبًا. The belief in Allah is not just necessary, it is what every human being needs to achieve in their life. If they miss that, then they miss the mark. The Prophet ﷺ himself said to a man who asked him, "Where is my father? I love him so much, but he lived and died as a mushrik." He said to him, "Your father is in the fire." The man became upset. He said, "My father is in the fire." Subhanallah. Abu Talib, the great uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, was at the side of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ through thick and thin. He supported him in the face of all of his enemies right to the very end. But at the end, he refused to say La ilaha illallah and submit himself to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said, he is in the fire. Man, you've done so much good. You knew he was a prophet, and yet out of arrogance, that is the crux of the matter, out of arrogance towards the Creator, you refuse to submit. We know what your fate is. May Allah save us from such a fate. Okay? So the problem is, people try to read into all of these events things that they have been influenced that are external to this book. Had they gone to the source, revelation, the ultimate truth, shaped their worldview by the very words of the Creator, they would have seen the sorrow case of this man, a great man who lived for the people, but he never lived for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To end, the man continues, بِمَا غَفَرَ لِي رَبِّي وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُكْرَمِينَ. He continues saying, only if my people had known what exactly, not just reward, but how my Lord has forgiven me. And imagine, this man lived all by himself. 70 years he was an idol worshipper. All of a sudden the people, messengers came to him, he became a Muslim. He became a believer. Then, the only words he ever mentioned of da'wah are here, in these 2-3 verses. Oh, that's all he did. And now he's being told, enter an eternity of bliss. قِيلَ دَخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Amazing. بِمَا غَفَرَ لِي رَبِّي. My Lord forgave all of that. 70 years I worshipped things beneath Him, disrespected the Creator, and yet just for a few moments I turned to Him. Look at what He has given me. بِمَا غَفَرَ لِي رَبِّي وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُكْرِمِينَ. And He has made me amongst those honorable people. Made me amongst those honorable people. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those honorable people. We ask Allah to forgive us our shortcomings and our sins. We ask Allah to make us of these people who are people of the Quran, the people who adhere to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and live a life of righteousness towards the Creator and towards His creation. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.